Hello, and welcome to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast. I'm Erin DeVos, and I'll be your host for this season. Join us for insightful interviews that explore the work of up-and-coming independent filmmakers from all over the world. If you're passionate about film and keen to learning about the creative process from the future cinema greats, this podcast is a must-listen for you. Our mission is to provide listeners with the engaging and informative conversations about successful and innovative films, including features, shorts, documentaries, animation, and web series from across the globe. The DCIFF Film Chat Podcast is a unique opportunity for independent filmmakers to have their voices heard in a way no other film festival can provide. You can listen to the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast on all podcast platforms or visit our website at DCIFF-indie.org/DCIFF-podcast. Thank you. Hello, Film Chat fans, and welcome to another episode of the DCIFF Film Chat Podcast with your host, me, Erin DeVos. This episode is with the filmmaker Kim. She's the director of Cold. And I really loved our conversation because she is not only a new filmmaker, and we get to hear what her experience is like in being able to formulate and create her film, but also she talks about the mental health angle in the film industry, which I feel is not really spoken about. And Kim really hits on these topics so clearly and concisely, and knowing that she is so intelligent and also intuitive into the types of films that she wants to create, and she is just only getting started. So without further ado, let's dive in. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining the DCIFF Film Chat podcast. You are my first guest to be talking about the film festival after the fact. So just wanted to share that we had such a great weekend, and it was such a pleasure meeting with you in person. I felt like we had a lot of fun, but also importantly today, I wanted to dive in to talk about your film. So wanted to thank you for attending and as well as being a part of this year.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, it was my first film, so I was just surprised to be invited to the party. So I'm just really excited, and I had a wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you. So good to hear that. And love for listeners to get to know who you are and as well as your nominated film.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Maryland, and my background is actually in music. My bachelor's is in music, voice performance. I did some opera here and there. I still sing in the DMV. And then I sort of transitioned to musicology with an emphasis in music theory. And then I was really fascinated with the mental health of the composers that I was researching, which then led me into psychology. And so I am now a licensed psychotherapist here in Maryland. I treat trauma disorders and eating disorders. And I've been writing my whole life, but it wasn't until I took a class at the Players Conservatory in 2021 around the pandemic. People were at home and we had a lot of time on our hands. And so even though it was also a tragedy that we were facing, I decided to really hone in on my writing skills at the Players Conservatory, founded by Sean McGuire, who's become a dear mentor of mine. And so I wrote Cold in around spring of 2022. We filmed it fall of 2022. And post-production was completed spring of 2023. So that's sort of a little bit about my journey. And so my writing has like a mental health bent to it because that's what I do. And I love what I do very much. And the music also plays a role because I pick the music for the score. And as a classical musician, I love featuring classical composers.
Well, it's so awesome to be able to weave in not only just your work experience, but your passion as well for writing and, talking about mental health too. Would you say, well, I guess you kind of dived into it too, like how much has it influenced your writing? Like, are you wanting to focus on mental health mainly through the films that you're creating?
Yes, for instance, in Cold, which is about a sinister man who doesn't have the best intentions towards a woman who is a new and up and coming blogger. You know, she recognizes him. He's pretty well known in the DMV, and she wants to interview him. And what she doesn't know is that he doesn't have the best intentions for her. And so, with my mental health background, I sort of, as I was developing his character, diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder, which is a personality disorder that tends to show no remorse, tends to exploit others, and to also, they tend to manipulate as well. They have sort of this disregard for people's rights, and they tend to be disrespectful of people's boundaries. And so in the writing, I do show that in the way he interacts with the blogger who I named Rosamund in my film Cold. So mental health does for sure serves more as a background in my writing. And like I said, diagnosing him with ASPD, the mental health with regards to Rosamund's character is more along the lines of her intuition is well intact. There were many red flags that she was exposed to, but because she was so hungry for that interview, so hungry to get ahead in her career, she ignored them.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, she trusted someone that she shouldn't have trusted.
Ah, ah.
This sinister Jasper character. Once I showed Cole, a lot of people were very interested in this character and found him to be quite fascinating.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And the fact, as the plot thickens, definitely waiting and looking forward to seeing this film. And it makes me wonder, too, the fact of how mental health has really changed within the film industry, whether it's like being portrayed. Do you have any thoughts on that compared to the film you created?
Yes, as a writer, I completely understand that writing, especially screenwriting, it is a science. Yes, it's an art form, but it's a science as well. There are certain things you have to follow in order to make it dramatic and to make it interesting and to keep the viewer's eyes on the screen, you know? So there's that part. And sometimes, due to that, you have to sort of bend the truth or dramatize mental health in a certain way. My hope is to find a way to not do that and still be dramatic. I think there's a way to be honest about mental health and how it shows up and not sacrifice the science of screenwriting. And so
Mm.
as I learn and I evolve and hone my skills, my goal is to continue to do that and to work on that. Now, in terms of mental health, behind the camera, that's very important to me how I treat my cast, how I treat my crew. I want an emotionally safe environment. So, you know, I deal with mental health every day with my own patients. And so, because I know how to deal with people, I know how to deal with emotions, that definitely has helped me as a director and how I communicate and how I navigate my crew and my cast. So, it's very important to me that my cast and crew feel safe to talk to me and safe to depend and rely on me.
I love that. So you're creating this, wanting the sense of healthy environment, working as on set and then also in the offset environment. That's so important because I feel with filmmakers, as often as we are working and like in the moment, we can like burn ourselves out easily too. So just kind of being
Mhm.
mindful of that. And then also thinking of the situations that we're putting actors and crew in too. So I love how you're very intentional about that. And I feel not many people talk about mental health in the industry as well as a whole. I really appreciate you bringing awareness and as well as like through your film conveying that message too.
Thank you.
Thinking about the success and like challenges with this having be your first film and first film festival, just being so new to it all and give advice to those for young filmmakers who are just starting out.
What I would say is so I read a book called Mastery by Robert Greene, which in there he talks about people who have had success in their life. And one thing that I learned is that no matter who you are, you need around 10,000 hours to work on your skill set. There's no way around it. And so because of that, what my advice is, get in your 10,000 hours, work on your skill, hone your skill. And what I love about this truth is that it levels the playing field. No matter where you come from, you have what you don't have. If you put in those 10,000 hours, no one can take it away from you. No one can look at your skill set as inferior because you've put in the time and the work. And so, developing that self-discipline to incur those hours and endure like the grueling and fun process of skill building. For me, it's writing and directing. So I'm in the process of working on those 10,000 hours, which is fun and a lot of hard work. But I love the fact that this is how I can build mastery in this skill. And so my recommendation for those who are just starting out is hurry, get those 10,000 hours in, because the more you do that, or the faster you do that.
I love that because, we're always told 10,000 steps a day, but 10,000 hours to dedicate to your craft is that's something I'm going to take in myself, like not only just through podcasting, but in anything that we want to be able to create and cultivate for ourselves. So I love that. I think that's a really great advice.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it helped me. So and it's currently helping me.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, you're living it. And I feel, yeah, we've touched around the key. What would you say? I guess kind of like tying everything all together. What would you say is the key message that you want your audience to only resonate, but also for other listeners who are, either just starting out in film and how it can relate to our world today?
Yeah. So aside from Jasper and his shenanigans, listen to your intuition. No matter what is around you, usually people's intuition is spot on if you're listening. And so, like, don't allow your incessant drive get in the way of that, like, quiet internal voice telling you that something is wrong here.
Mm.
And so, in my film, that's exactly what happens. Rosamund has many chances to turn back, many chances to protect herself, and she doesn't take them.
Mm.
And so, my key message is, as you are on this journey of life, whether it be incurring those 10,000 hours, getting that next degree, getting that next job, do so and pursue it well. But have your ear out for that internal voice, that intuition that tells you something isn't right here. And I know you really want this. Maybe take a step back.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I love that. Like just being able, yeah, as you mentioned, listen to your intuition and really being mindful of your surroundings because you never know what those signs can lead into. I love that. And I feel like you answered so many of my questions so concisely and beautifully.
Thank you.
My last question to ask you, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share?
I would love to talk about some of the process of Cole,
Yeah.
of my team. So I had an amazing production designer. Her name is Reese Quinones, and she is also a graphic designer here in Maryland. She's an award-winning graphic designer, and she's a big part of why Cold is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And why Cold is a huge success. I sort of joke behind the scenes that she likes to veto the things that I love, which she does. But it's because I'm more of a writer, and because she's a graphic designer, she is so visual. She knows how to translate my written word on my screenplay to how it can really look in a visual way that's beautiful and that makes sense. So I'm very thankful to have her as part of my team. Also, the music. We featured classical music of Schoenberg, Biardot, um, and Ravel. And my pianist, Dr. Mark DePinto, who's a piano professor here in Maryland, and also my music supervisor, did a beautiful job. It was mostly piano, and he so graciously played and he recorded those very challenging pieces. And I'm just so grateful to him that he was on the score of my film. Did such a beautiful job. Many people who watch Cold, they've commented on the music. And so it's not just the classical composers, but our players. And I had a woman named Emily Flores who played the violin as well. Did a beautiful job. The way she plays is like this schmaltzy, romantic, beautiful way of playing, and just a beautiful voice and how she plays. So I was thankful to have both Mark and Emily on the score. It's called.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. Sometimes we don't hear about like how the music comes to life in film. So I really appreciate you giving those shout outs to everyone.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kim, so much for your time today. Or where can we follow you along your journey?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram. It's called Kim Likes This. Very simple.
Love it. I mean, mine's all about confidence, so I feel that.
So if you'd like to follow my journey, music, mental health, filmmaking, writing, all of that good stuff, that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. Oh, well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This podcast is brought to you by the DCIFF supporters. We could not be here without all of you to be sharing this amazing outlet with filmmakers from around the world. If you are interested in supporting DCIFF, head on over to our website through the link description in the bio of this episode, or you can go right to the website, which is DCIFF-indie.org, to connect with us and learn more about our Future of Film programs, our festival, and also more educational opportunities in what we do with our high school students, community, and beyond. We look forward to your support.